America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Man, it's cold here in the Northeast, I'll tell you that. Next week or so, we will need to go where it's a little bit warmer, I would say. I don't know. I have great admiration for people who live even further north than I am, and there's a lot of people who do. Like people who live in Buffalo, I'll never understand that. Do you understand that, Rich? Holy mackerel. It's a lovely town, please don't get me wrong, but, 3 feet of snow is 3 feet of snow. In other parts of the country, of course, but hey, what can I tell you? Everybody's out there doing, snow angels and having a grand time. All right. I want to continue on the opening of the program, and then we'll get into some other things here. Talking about some of the people, some of the men who signed your Constitution, who are very poorly known, as a matter of fact. Remember, 7 delegates were appointed to attend the Constitutional Convention. 55 did. And only 39 of them actually signed the final document. That little factoid is something most people don't even know. All right, let's go with some. Now, here's a few whose names should be familiar to you, but you probably don't know a lot about. There's some whose names are definitely familiar to you, and I'm skipping over those. I'm trying to get to individuals you may not have ever heard of, who are not celebrated, but some you may have heard of, like Rufus King of Massachusetts. He was one of the youngest delegates. He was also one of the best speakers, renowned for the power of his oratory. He later served as a senator, a director of the First Bank of the United States, and America's minister to Great Britain for actually quite a long time, 1796 to 1803. John Langdon of New Hampshire commanded a militia company at the Battle of Saratoga, a key battle. In 1777, he sat on the Continental Congress. He was elected as senator in 1789 and rejected a nomination to be vice presidential candidate in 1812, believing he was too old, although he lived another 7 years after that. He wasn't even close to being too old, actually. In 1812, he was, well, maybe he would have been way too old. He was born in 1741. Potential VP candidate in 1812. 59. That was too bad. Believing, yeah. Jonathan Dayton of New Jersey, captain in the Continental Army at the age of 19. Dayton survived a period of imprisonment at the hands of the British and went on to a career as a lawyer and a politician with a little speculation thrown in for good measure. Land speculation, that is. The British were brutal as hell, by the way. You might say, okay, well, they were prison. No. Many of them were taken to these prison boats. About half the deaths during the Revolutionary War took place on these prison boats. 9,000 to 10,000 men died on these prison boats. Dysentery, other types of diseases. To the extent they were fed, they got rancid food. It was horrific. William Patterson in New Jersey. Patterson, New Jersey, which today is, I think it's a vast majority Muslim. He was born in Ireland. His family migrated to the United States when he was 2 years old. He was New Jersey's Attorney General throughout the Revolutionary War. And although absent for the latter stages of the convention, he returned to sign the final document. Now, which raises another point I should mention. Of the 55 delegates that were at the Constitutional Convention, all of them didn't stay for the whole convention. Some of them would leave and come back. It was quite a lot of work for these men. It was a long, hot summer. And they still had to tend to their businesses, to their law practices, to their farms, to whatever they were doing. And so several of them came and went, and some of them, of course, stayed the whole time, like Madison and Washington and some others. And keep in mind, many of you already know this, I believe, I hope. Thomas Jefferson was not at the Constitutional Convention. He was in France, representing the United States. But he kept in touch with Madison as best as they could, the two of them with handwritten letters. But, of course, it took quite some time for them to pass one to the other. Jefferson would ultimately support the Constitution of Virginia, and Virginia was a very close call. Patrick Henry opposed it. George Mason opposed it. And then, of course, Washington supported it. Madison supported it. The four biggest states were Virginia, Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania. Virginia, they weren't sure it would pass. Massachusetts was fairly solid, but close. New York was on the cusp. Pennsylvania was in pretty decent shape in terms of ratifying the Constitution. William Blount, North Carolina. He was a half-hearted delegate who missed the first month of the convention, reluctantly signed the final document out of a professed desire to make acceptance unanimous. It wasn't unanimous. And for tonight, we will stop with Hugh Williamson, also of North Carolina. He was one of the most accomplished delegates. He was an ordained minister, a professor of mathematics, a medical doctor, a member of the American Philosophical Society, and scientist of some renown, having written an influential paper on comets. Unsurprisingly, he was a good friend with Benjamin Franklin. Now, Hugh Williamson of North Carolina, almost nobody's ever heard of him. And yet he was among the most accomplished of all the delegates. And highly respected. Isn't that amazing, Mr. Producer? Now, I'm not expecting you to memorize this. You know, this is audio. You're listening to it on the radio or on a podcast platform or Sirius satellite. But what I'm trying to do is, trigger a deeper interest in this because our history is fantastic. You have people running around trashing our country and promoting Qatar. You have people running around telling you how awful the founding of America was. I'm countering that. And I want you to get really interested in your own country. And we will be covering a lot more of these men. And we're also going to circle back to the Declaration. But I happen to be interested in that list on the Constitution, and I wanted to share that with you. Now we're going to take a brief break. We got a lot to do on this Friday, and we'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. You know, it was only a matter of time till Stephen A. Smith, a dear friend of mine, would come under attack by individuals who do not like the fact that this man is an independent thinker. And he is. And I'm reading here in something called Blavity.com. And, if I can wipe all these damn commercials that pop up on my screen here off, that would be great. Retired NBA player Steven Jackson is speaking out about how Stephen A. Smith addresses prominent black figures versus those who are non-black. Now, listen to that sentence. Listen to that. This is really an effort at intimidating Smith. He's not going to be intimidated, certainly not by Steven Jackson. According to an Instagram post from Complex Sports, Jackson published a video online comparing Smith's past loud stances with LeBron James and most recently Representative Jasmine Crockett to his latest encounters with Alexis Ohanian, who is the husband of Serena Williams. He noted how Smith was more composed when confronted by Ohanian, who happens to be white. Say what? Why don't you write a long list of African Americans who Smith supports? Or a list of white athletes who Smith has criticized? What kind of stupid guy is this guy, Steven Jackson? Jackson criticized Smith for the dialed-back energy he displayed during Ohanian's guest appearance on his show First Take. Come on, Stephen A. Bro. You get loud and all in your feelings about Braun when talking to a black billionaire, but when you're talking to a white billionaire, you humble. And you come back on your show talking real respectful, mild-mannered, Jackson said in the recording, and you're dogging the black woman. Stay out of politics. Stick to talking about sports you never played, all right? Just stick to doing that, bro. What kind of an a-hole is this guy, this Jackson? He just wants a bomb thrower. That's all. Bomb thrower. Be a bomb thrower. Don't think independently. Jackson don't want to hear from people who are smart, who are wise. He just wants to hear what he wants to hear. He wants his viewpoints to be reinforced by somebody else. You know what that is? That's a mental coward. That's what that is. No, I haven't talked to Stephen A. about this. We don't waste our time talking about stuff like this. We're not going to vote for you. Nice. I heard you talking about running. Don't do that, bro. We're not going to vote for you. You do not have the same energy for other people, but you got a lot of energy for Braun and black women and not everybody else. Now, ridiculous. If I'm married and my wife is going to troll her ex, go back to his blank, because clearly you don't belong with me, Smith said. What you wear? I'm not going to get into all this, but what I will get into is this. What is Stephen Jackson's problem? He only wants to listen to black people who agree with him? Just circle the wagons all the time? You shouldn't look at somebody independently as another human being and draw your own conclusions? You know, I used to follow these various athletes. NBA, Stephen Jackson. I don't remember who the hell Stephen Jackson was. He couldn't have been that great. Was he good, Mr. Producer? Average, right? Average? Well, he's a below average right now. Trashing Stephen A. Smith. They want a guy on there, on ESPN and on his own podcast, who's part of the chorus. They want somebody who's in the Rockettes, who all sing the same and dance the same. Left leg up, left leg, right leg up, and based on race. And based on race. Now, some of you people, you don't like Stephen A. You say to me, hey, he's not conservative enough for me. He's not a conservative. He's not a liberal. He's not a racist. He's not a bigot. If anything, you could call him a moderate. And he aligns with the Democrat Party, but he's not one of these radical kooks in the Democrat Party. Okay? He's a capitalist. He believes in civil liberties and civil rights. I know the man. I listen to the man. So I don't know what this Stephen Jackson's talking about. What's interesting to me is not one word in here about substance, actual substance. It's all race baiting and chorus line dancing and singing. That's it. That's all. I think this guy Jackson is jealous of Stephen A. That's what I think. He's jealous. I don't know what Blavity is. Is that a race-related site, Mr. Producer? It may well be. I don't know. I never heard of it. But I saw it, so I'm commenting on it. Now, the truth is, when you get out of sports and into these other parts of our culture, you're subjected to this stuff. As I'm subjected to anti-Semitism and bigotry. But I'm a big boy. I got thick skin. I can handle it. And I do handle it. And I'm a counterpuncher. And I'm fairly certain Stephen A. is the same. Fairly certain. It's tough enough to do these jobs to have some jackass like Stephen Jackson start. And who is he? He's nobody. He's just posting stuff. I think he's jealous as hell. That's what I think. Whatever you do, don't criticize Braun. No. Jasmine Crockett? No, she can run around bad-mouthing anybody she wants, saying the dumbest thing she can possibly imagine. No. Treat her with kid gloves. You know what? If Stephen A. Smith followed Stephen Jackson, he wouldn't be a successful man. People wouldn't respect him regardless of race. There's a reason why Stephen A. Smith is by far, in my view, the most popular man on ESPN and enormously popular on any platform he goes on. I'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, radio's hell-raising intellectual. Call now, 877-381-3811.
All right. Yes, I know that article's from October, so what? Still relevant. As far as I'm concerned, that's the mindset, you see. People... Here's the thing. In totalitarian regimes, whether Marxist, fascist, or whatever, they try to control your mind, your ability to think, your ability to express yourself. That's why free speech is so damn important. Doesn't mean you can't be criticized for something you say, of course. Doesn't mean certain types of speech aren't considered a threat, like if you're threatening to kill somebody or something of that sort. But so what this Jackson guy is doing is trying to control Stephen A's mind, trying to control what comes out of his mouth through what I consider very vile criticism. I just thought I would point that out. We have a great ambassador to Israel, as you know, because I say it over and over and over again, just so people don't think that I'm hiding anything. I'm proud of it. My stepson is his senior staffer. I'm very proud of Mike Huckabee. I think Mike Huckabee has done a fantastic job, is doing a fantastic job, and I'm a big fan of his. And he's under attack by the same people who attack me, by the same people who, you know who they are, that same crowd. But he's a big believer as an evangelical Christian in the Christian faith. My wife and I, my mother-in-law, on Wednesday mid-afternoon, we had lunch with our dear, dear friends, Pastor John Hagee and his wonderful daughter, Sandy. He is the pastor of one of the largest churches in America, San Antonio, Cornerstone. And he's very supportive of the president. And he began an organization a few decades back called Christians United for Israel. So he comes under attack. But he doesn't care. I don't care. We do what we think is right. We're believers. And Mike Huckabee is too. He is as well. He was doing a interview with, I guess it's a podcast, Friends of Zion. And just so you folks know, all Zionism means is you support the state of Israel. That's it. I'm a Zionist, you say? Okay, you support the state of Israel. They've tried to turn it into some kind of pejorative or even a cuss word. It's like this group AIPAC. I've never spoken to AIPAC. I don't work with AIPAC, but so what if I did? It's the American Israeli Political Action Committee. They don't take foreign money, no money from Israel, certainly no money from Qatar. And they support relations between the United States and Israel. Other ethnic groups or religious groups do the same thing. As a matter of fact, Qatar spends much more money in the United States, that's foreign money, than is raised and spent by AIPAC, that's American money, in the United States. But this is what the anti-Semites do. But the anti-Semites hate evangelical Christians. Hate them. Hate them. Because evangelical Christians believe as the Bible states. They don't believe in this replacement theory, one religion replacing another. They believe it's a continuum, the Old Testament to the New Testament. The replacement theory is that the New Testament replaces the Old Testament, yet the New Testament references the Old Testament over and over and over again. And obviously many of the great men and women in the Old Testament are referenced and in the New Testament. And the apostles were Jewish. And Jesus was Jewish. And we can go through this over and over again. So it would actually be an impossibility to have a replacement theory that is Christian. It would be impossible. And that's what Mike Huckabee understands and explains. That's what Pastor Hagee, Pastor Evans, who was in Israel the other day, in Judea and Samaria, that's wrongly called the West Bank of Jordan somehow, where he spoke to 1,000 pastors. You're not hearing about these things going on here, because a lot of it goes on without notice by podcasters, cable TV, network TV, but they're going on, and it's big. And the pushback is big. And here is Ambassador Huckabee. Another would be Ted Cruz. And there are many others. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. These are evangelical or solid believers, true believers in Christianity. Here's Ambassador Mike Huckabee yesterday. Cut one, go.
Was Israel's attack on Qatar without cause or merit? Well, let's be real clear. There's been some talk that Israel attacked the country of Qatar. It did not. It did, in fact, send a missile to attack a terrorist who had been partly responsible for the murder of Israeli citizens, but it did not attack the country. There was one missile. It was aimed at one person. Now, unfortunately, there were some people who were near that missile strike that were injured or killed from it. But that was not an attack on the nation of Qatar. If that's the new standard, then the United States must apologize for going after Osama bin Laden while he was in Pakistan being protected by the Pakistanis. Once again, we can't apply a different standard to Israel than we do to every other nation.
Now, for some people, this will be considered controversial. There's not a controversial syllable in anything that he said, because it happens to be the truth. That's exactly what took place. That's exactly what took place. So they're asking him these questions, and he's responding to them. He was asked, is Israel a genocidal nation? Cut two, go.
One of the questions that many people were asked, is Israel a genocidal nation? The answer to that is demonstrably and laughably no, they're not. To be genocidal, to actually commit a genocide, you have to intentionally try to kill civilians, and not just kill civilians, but to kill all of the civilians within a particular area. That simply never happened in Gaza. A lot of people seem to forget that the war in Gaza was started when Israel was attacked. A shocking attack on civilians who were waking up on a holy day and then were viciously attacked from terrorists coming over from Gaza. These attackers didn't come just to kill, but to massacre and to mutilate.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the final clip that I want to raise. What about Israel and Epstein? See, he's being asked about all these conspiracies, all these falsehoods, all these allegations, and he's responding to them. Cut three, go.
This is another question that is Israel blackmailing the U.S. government with the Jeffrey Epstein files? Again, what a ridiculous kind of unfounded, unverified allegation. It emanates from someone's imagination. Nobody's provided one shred of evidence to indicate that there's any truth to it. Reckless allegations, whether it's against an individual or a country, are just that. They're reckless and they're harmful. just like no one would want to have people say crazy things about them individually or their families, people ought to push back when anyone, whether it's a podcast host or just somebody making a speech, gets up and says something as unfounded as that somehow Israel was behind Jeffrey Epstein.
He's such a thoroughly decent man, isn't he? Oh, and for all the conspiracy nuts out of there, I almost never talk to Mike Huckabee. When I see him publicly, I don't call him. I don't text him. If I'm in Israel and I see him, of course, I have it's a great honor to shake his hand and to meet him. And one day I hope we'll get to know him better. And yes, my stepson is so honored to work with him and for him. And the president appointed him for that position. He does a fantastic job. They both do. As the president does. As the Secretary of State does. They've done a fantastic job. I couldn't be more proud of all of them. All right, much more when I return. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I've told you this before, but they emphasize it during this holiday season. It's quite unfortunate, but here I go. Marjorie Taylor Greene is as dumb as she looks. Now she's gone from dumb to evil. She's trying to diminish the president with her outrageous attacks on him. They're relentless. They're daily. I warned you about her months and months ago. She's a wrecking ball. In 5 years in Congress, she's done absolutely nothing to affect your life in a positive way. She's resigning at a time to ensure that she gets a lifetime pension, even though she's become very wealthy while in office. But she needs another $8,500 or $9,000 a year. But she won't go away. She won't go away. She's a rash on the body politic. A rash. In fact, she's such a rash that the Yentas on The View want to have her back. They love her. They don't respect her, not one whit, but they love her. Our friends at Mediocre, I can't get enough of her. I counted the other day, they had 3 or 4 stories up there with her. They get a lot of clicks, they get a lot of eyes with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's exactly what you don't want in a politician. Self-serving, self-aggrandizing. And she wants you to know that the Republican Party doesn't respect women. Gee, we've never heard that before from the party of Ted Kennedy and Bill Clinton. Of course, the bad news for her is there's a lot of Republican women who can't stand her and consider her an embarrassment, because she is. I think both sexes, for your liberals, both genders, can agree on that. She's a disruptor, not for good reasons, but to self-promote. There she was with the leader of Code Pink the other day, calling her a good friend. Code Pink, The View, trashing Republicans, trashing the president, and she's trashing now the speaker. Her favorite media site, Mediocreite, they being the favorite among her admirers, Marjorie Taylor Greene wildly plotting to oust Mike Johnson on her way out of Congress report. Of course she should get a pension for the rest of her life. Isn't she very constructive? She's reportedly testing support for a last-ditch effort to remove Speaker Johnson with barely weeks left in office. She's quietly sounding out colleagues about backing a motion to vacate the chair. I think the Republicans are going to have enough trouble holding on to the majority in the midterms, thanks to the neo-fascists, the Christian haters, the Jew haters, and so forth and so on. I really do. And it's hard enough historically for the party in power to remain in power during an off-year or a midterm election. But Greene, like Carlson, have made it clear they want the Republicans to lose. They want to burn it down. That's what they're all about. Marjorie is approaching members to get to 9 who will oust the speaker, the source said. If we don't get to work on codifying Trump's agenda, anything can happen. Now, she's publicly denied the report and slammed MS Now, journalist who approached her about the reports, insisting it wasn't true that she was organizing against Johnson. I'm not interested in participating in your story, she said. But the claims surface after repeated attacks on the speaker by Greene over the Republican shutdown strategy, health care policy on CNN this week, accusing him of marginalizing female GOP lawmakers. What a clown. But if the plot is real, Greene faces steep odds, and with her upcoming resignation taking effect at the beginning of January. You know, you listen to her, if you must. And then more photos are released involving Epstein. And what I noticed, what was particularly interesting, I noticed it, others have noticed it, is the extent to which Steve Bannon had a cozy relationship with Epstein. There's one photo. Where are they standing? In his apartment? Mr. Producer, Epstein's apartment? We don't know where it was, but there they are, hip to hip. One was Epstein's office. Another one was where there was a picture of an underage girl in a state of what? In a very poor state, right on the table. Bannon needs to come clean. He needs to release his videos. He needs to explain to the people who are paying to watch his bombast cast. The hell were they doing? I cast no aspersions. I just ask questions. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You have any cool plans for this weekend? I hope you do, because it's going to be cool. It's going to be more than cool. It's going to be freezing out there, but that's okay. Not really. Boy, this stuff involving the Somalis never seems to end. quite frankly. This on Fox News, whistleblower warns massive fraud is happening in Ohio. Somali community, Minnesota just the tip of the spear. Ohio attorney Mehek Cooke said, what we're seeing in Minneapolis is just a snippet of what's going on in Ohio. On the heels of Minnesota still unfolding massive social services fraud scandal, billions. A whistleblower is exposing a similar scheme occurring among the Ohio Somali community, which he says dates back over a decade and totals millions in stolen tax dollars. In an interview with Fox News Digital, Mehek Cooke, an Ohio attorney and conservative commentator, said that Minnesota was just the tip of the spear. She said that providers within the Ohio Somali community have confided to her that they have been pressured to join in a massive Medicaid fraud scheme that involves doctors rubber stamping home health care payouts to the family members of elderly individuals for fake medical conditions. You know, the left loves to set up these programs, say, you cut one penny from these programs, people are going to die. They have absolutely no interest in monitoring them, in controlling them, and ensuring that the people who are supposed to benefit from these programs actually benefit from these programs. She explained the scammers in the community have been exploiting a loophole in Ohio's Medicaid program that allows individuals to receive Medicaid payments totaling as much as $91,000 per person for care they are supposedly providing to a family member. Doctors who approve these payments in turn receive kickbacks themselves, according to Cooke. They're just rubber stamping a lot of these, and then the same individual, a week later, that's supposed to be bedridden, is all over social media, whether they're out dancing at a party or something like that. So the symptoms aren't really adding up at the end of the day. Cooke noted that she believes that the problem today is not the community, it's actually the criminals within the Somalian community that have exploited Ohio's Medicaid program, because we have a system right now that's one of the easiest in the Midwest to game. Isn't that state controlled by Republicans? See, I want to take care of my elderly aging parents at some point. They could become a home health provider, and this is where the Somali community has been really clever. Well, first she said it's not the community, it's the criminals. Well, it sounds to me like it's the community, and there's many criminals. So they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. They've been able to find loopholes in Ohio law to provide for care for family members even when they don't need it. She said that the providers who came to her divulged this information at great personal risk, telling her that if they were exposed, they could be stoned to death. Stoning. Stoning. Is that a cultural thing, Mr. Producer? What is that? We've entrusted states to look at the funding and allocate it to build programs, to build rules and regulations. But unfortunately, in states like Ohio, it's being infiltrated and broken down because you don't actually have independent assessments with not only doctors, but somebody at the Department of Medicaid coming in. They've run that damn government in Ohio, Republicans, for I don't know how many years. That liberal Republican has been the governor. There's not random visits that are happening all the time, so a lot of times what's happening is an individual is coached to lie to a doctor. Cooke said that according to providers within the community, 99% of the time, individuals receiving the home health care Medicaid benefit have been coached to do not actually qualify for the benefit. She said what we're seeing in Minneapolis is just a snippet of what's happening in Ohio. I know that everybody wants to make this a Somali issue, a race issue. It's not. Well, didn't she just make it that, Mr. Vida? Am I missing something? Our waiver system, Ohio, was built with compassion. It was built to really help individuals that are struggling and in need, but it's being looted today. I'm not clear. She very much wants to point out what's going on in the Somali community without criticizing or blaming the Somali community. And this is always part of the problem. I'm glad she's telling us that all this fraud's going on and maybe the Republican governor will do something about it. But that said, I read you the piece the other day out of the Free Press that it is a cultural mindset. That doesn't mean every Somali's involved in it, but it is a cultural mindset that a community is involved in. Families within communities, clans, C-L-A-N-S, within communities are involved in. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. But people don't want to discuss the truth. You're not allowed to discuss the truth. And here's Tim Walz. Here he is. Cut number 5, go.
Two of our fellow Minnesotans, two of our fellow American citizens, two of our fellow Minnesota
I'll be
Americans.
Perfectly honest with you, we're going to play this and a couple others, but I can't even stand listening to this idiot. Be perfectly with you. I just can't stand this guy. Go ahead.
Who were minding their own business and living their lives, were detained by and arrested by ICE. These chaotic operations are doing
All right,
nothing.
listen, I hear this, I see this, and I'm sorry that some people who shouldn't be arrested are arrested. It happens every day, and it's not always ICE, by the way. It can happen all the time. But this circumstance was created by the Democrats. The reason ICE is doing what it's doing, the reason ICE is in these cities and these other communities, is because of the mass amount of illegal immigration purposefully done to this country by the Democrat Party and people like Walz. There's no other way to handle this. Because people don't come forward and say, hi, I'm an illegal immigrant. Will you deport me? Doesn't work that way. So there will be imperfections in the system. There will be defects in the system. But it is the best system, the best run system, the best managed process for removing illegal aliens, including criminals. I just wish they had so much compassion and concern for people who are brutalized by illegal aliens. But they don't. Go ahead.
These chaotic operations are not done in any coordination with law enforcement.
There's nothing chaotic about it whatsoever. Nothing. You've got ICE agents in the field under tremendous pressure from these mayors and these governors who've turned the communities against them, who've made it clear that they will not assist them, that they will undermine them, usurp the Constitution. And that's what these men and women, these American patriots, many of whom, by the way, are minorities, that's what they're up against. And they're trying to do the right thing. And there will be occasions when individuals who are citizens or not here unlawfully are scooped up. But they are few and far between. 2.5 million, I just read this today, if it's accurate, 2.5 million illegal aliens have already been removed from the country in less than a year. God bless President Trump and his team for doing what they're doing. And by the way, I want to salute the president for defending his Secretary of DHS, who's doing a fantastic job. No, I don't know her. I've met her maybe 2 or 3 times at a social event or two. I've not gone to a single Homeland Security, what is the name of the group? I don't remember the group I'm appointed to, but it doesn't matter. The reason isn't because I don't want to go. I do want to go. The reason is because often the event is held while I'm doing this show. And this week, the second meeting was held when I was already in another meeting. So it's exactly, just testing you, Rich, Homeland Security Advisory Council. And they do a fantastic job. The department's doing so wonderfully. I mean, look at this guy, Mayorkas. Look what he did to the country. Now compare him to Kristi Noem. And the Democrats love Mayorkas, and they hate Kristi Noem. You saw they treat her the other day. If I were liberal, I'd call them misogynist, wouldn't I? They treated her that way because she's a woman. No, they treated her that way because she's a patriot. And they are not. Tim Walz, cut 6, Mr. Producer, go.
It should be the simplest thing in the world when the President of the United States calls an entire group of people garbage and our state garbage and hellhole, to just disavow that. You can still be very conservative.
All right, pal, you're not going to turn the tables on us. You're a disgrace. You've cost the American people billions. that were aimed at feeding hungry children, that were aimed at autistic children, that were aimed at health care for people who needed it, and it was stolen. People became multimillionaires. They built mansions overseas. They bought the most expensive cars imaginable, and you're going to lecture Donald Trump? You're the one who's the racist. You know how you're a racist? Because the truth is, you talk about people in groups the way you do, but you choose to pretend that things aren't happening in that community, in that group. So when it's pointed out, you think you have an opportunity to act like you're Martin Luther King. You're not Martin Luther King. You're a fraud and a fool and a buffoon. And you cost all those little kids, because of your inability to have oversight, the kind of support they needed during the pandemic. You, Tim Walz, you and your ilk, you've created these conditions for politics, for purely political reasons. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
And all the time I've been endorsing Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month, now through December 14th. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for the rest of your life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network, but this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. You can see puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 14, 2025. Folks, don't miss this. Now remember this so-called governor, Tim Walz of Minnesota. What does he say? What does he say? You don't call an entire group of people. You don't attack an entire group of people. Didn't he say that, Mr. Producer? Don't attack an entire group of people, unless, of course, they're white. Now, you might say he's a white man. He can say that. No, he is a translucent man. There's a difference. There's different shades of white. There's different shades of black and brown and all the rest of it. He's off the white charts. If you were going to the paint store and asking for, those colored things they give you with the different colors and so forth, he would be at the very left, at the very beginning, at the top. That is translucent. So he's a translucent American. I wouldn't go so far as to even call him a white American. Translucent American. From Minnesota. And of course, he likes to call China home, or he used to. He was very friendly with the communist Chinese regime. And he's a complete incompetent. Have you noticed these Democrat governors? Look at this Newsom. He's leading in the polls already. Who cares about the polls right now? It's too early. But he's got to be the biggest miscreant, buffoon, incompetent clown, certainly in the history of the governorship of California, to take the greatest state, the wealthiest state, and to do what he did to it. And then he wants to run for president because he hopes that his lies, his conniving, his media, massive amounts of money from billionaires, will buy him the White House. And it may succeed, because we conservatives, we have a problem with these neo-fascists who are going to take us down. And yes, I will be the canary in the mine who keeps reminding people about this. But I'm ahead of myself. Here he is at this press conference again. Take a listen. Cut 7, go.
Members and leaders from the Somali community to say, we need to look at ourselves. We need to hold our own neighbors accountable, because look at the damage that this has done to our community. What do you want to hear more from, instead of just saying, don't blame us? Do you want to see more ownership and oversight from within this?
Look, it's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they...
Oh. Don't talk about people as an entire group. You understand? Don't do that. But he just did it. I don't know who commits what crime, where, when, and how, although we do have a pretty good idea. But this particular crime, this massive fraud involving billions of dollars, we know where it took place. 80,000 people came into the country. 1970, there wasn't one Somali in Minneapolis, according to the report we read yesterday. Now there's 80,000. It's a very tight-knit community. It comes from a culture in Somalia. Imagine that. Somalia is a completely dysfunctional society. Warlords, clans. And the culture was explained by a Somalian, now an American citizen, a scholar, for all to read in the free press. And I read the entire article to you. And she's right. She's right. Why do we call something a culture? What is a culture? What's a culture? You call something a culture because it's belief systems, value systems, traditions, customs, these sorts of things that are common among a group of people. We have an American culture. There are other cultures throughout the world. The Qataris have a culture. Not a very pleasant culture, but they have a culture. And so forth and so on, right? Islamist societies have cultures. All societies have cultures. And so, you're talking about a culture. Why do we have immigration rules and laws, or we used to, certainly not since Donald Trump came back, but before Donald Trump, they were destroyed and Donald Trump put them back in place, right? Why do we have a system that vets people to determine if they can assimilate into our culture, assimilate into our society, will have allegiance to our country? Because of culture. A foreign culture and our culture. So clearly that's the case. So when you're attacking an entire race of people, white, black, something like that, that's quite different, isn't it, than talking about people from a certain country with a certain culture. Am I making any sense, Mr. Producer? But for Tim Walz is responsible for what took place in that community, and he's trying every left-wing knee-jerk propaganda point he can think of to try and turn it around and attack Donald Trump or anybody who dares to criticize that community for what they've done to kids in need. And that's why that'll never be solved there, ever. I'll be right back. And all the time I've been endorsing Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month, now through December 14th. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for the rest of your life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network. But this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/LEVIN to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. You can see puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 14, 2025. Folks, don't miss this.
The Mark Levin Show, the pool feed for the conservative media. Dive in now. 877-381-3811.
Yellow. Now, I want to underscore the point because the left is very clever and very evil. Very clever and very evil. Nobody better to point to than Ilhan Omar, who did in fact marry her brother, who did in fact violate our immigration standards before she came into the country. But here she is. And she's on Capitol Hill yesterday. And watch carefully what she does, because Tim Walz tried to do the same thing, and they're all doing it on the left, the Democrats, their media, and so forth. Cut 9, go.
Do you think that race played a part in Governor Walz not cracking down on the fraud enough in Minnesota, the welfare fraud that's been linked to some in the Somali community? What's your take on that?
I don't understand what race has to do with that.
Yeah, some were saying that on the Republican side that he didn't want to expose the fraud because of that issue, upsetting the community.
Well, if that's the case, how are they prosecuted and sent to jail?
Who should be?
The people. They're prosecuted and they're sentenced.
All right, let me unravel this gibberish for a second. First of all, when he says, and I don't know who he is, that the Republicans are saying Walz won't soften them because of their race. No, Walz won't soften them because it's the Somali community, not because they're black. The president has condemned what that community has done because so many of the people are fairly recent immigrants to the United States, not because of their race, but because of their culture. You see, this is the bigoted stereotypes that the left and the media apply to people. On the continent of Africa, you have many countries and many different cultures. You don't just say, oh, everybody's black or the vast majority of people are black, therefore. No. You have all kinds of horrendous wars and battles going on over there. Black against black. It's not black. It's the culture. It's the ideology. That's why when I started this show, talking about this guy, Stephen Jackson, attacking Stephen A. Smith, it's not about black and white. It's about the individual. In this case, it's about the culture of a community. Thousands of individuals. It's not about race. Race is not a culture. It's a skin color. White, black, whatever it is. Ilhan Omar, she will bring up race. Reporters will bring up race. But the president's not talking about race. He's talking about the lack of assimilation. That there are certain cultures that cannot assimilate into the American culture, certain cultures where people don't want to assimilate into the American culture. Islamism is an ideology. It is an ideology that builds cultures around it. They brainwash children at a young age, just like Hamas and the Palestinians in Gaza, in other parts of the Middle East. That's the game plan. Why Qatar pours billions and billions of dollars into our country? because we're the West, the Western culture, which they seek to defeat with their ideology and their culture. So we need to speak clearly and understandably. It's not about race. The West has all kinds of people in the West. The West is the most diverse of all societies. America is the most diverse of any society. Americans come in all types of colors and are part of the American culture, the American society. If people are coming to the country and they're part of other cultures, whatever the hell their color is, and are part of other cultures, and they come into the country and they refuse to assimilate, or they are so attached to their old culture that they can't assimilate, then they shouldn't come into this country. E pluribus unum, from many, one. That's the point. America. America. Not your flavor of the day. America. The American cultures. Black people, white people, brown people, yellow people, red people, translucent people, all kinds of people. It's a very diverse population with a culture. We believe in free speech, right? We believe in, I can go down a long list of things. An important point, albeit a collateral point, this is why I get furious with individuals who claim to be America First, who claim to be a MAGA, who embrace the culture of Qatar, not a democratic culture, not a free speech culture, not a free exercise of religion culture, whatever your religion is culture, but Islamist regime that spreads terrorism and pays for terrorism and tries to conquer our country from within. This is why I challenge these people. And you'll notice they cannot simply embrace those cultures and ideologies. They have to attack ours, the Judeo-Christian belief system, which they claim never existed. The Judeo part, Jews. The Christian part, Christians. Our heroes have to be libeled. If you embrace Qatar and Islamism and Putin and so forth and so on, then of course you're going to soft pedal Hitler and Stalin and trash Churchill. And in doing so, you trash the United States, you trash the millions of Americans who fought that war, and nearly 500,000 who died in that war. You trash the greatest generation. Thankfully, most of them can't hear what's taking place in our country today. These are all linked, ladies and gentlemen. It's like dominoes. Like dominoes. With Jacob Fry, this is a left-wing Democrat, incompetent coward who is the mayor of Minneapolis. He cannot get elected mayor now without the support of the Somali community. Remember Mary Tyler Moore in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Mr. Producer? Remember the Mary Tyler Moore show? She was a news anchor. It's a very popular show. That show kind of reflected that city. Well, it wouldn't anymore. The change in that city has been massive and sudden. And you can't have a massive, newly imported population that's not assimilating into anything. Here's Jacob Fry, the mayor. Cut 10, go.
While I'm a little bit busy right now, a few months from now, in the next year, I would very much like to visit Somalia.
Now, I don't get this at all. Those people clapping escaped Somalia. Many of them are refugees and came into the United States under a refugee status. And they're applauding him for visiting Somalia, which is a completely dysfunctional country. Completely dysfunctional, like Haiti. Like California. A state, of course. Go ahead.
This has been something that I would like to do for quite a long time, but to be there with my friends, to be there together. My brothers and sisters. I'm learning.
This is just unbelievable to me. And you haven't learned a damn thing. Look, you can be polite, civil, I get it, and be all those things. You can speak the language, that's okay too. But you're going to visit Somalia? What are you going to do, buy a home there? What's it like, Qatar? I don't know, I'm just curious. This is a completely lawless society. Utterly lawless. You understand, folks? Utterly lawless. So he's pandering. Now, all that fraud that took place occurred in and around his city. And that's his response. That's why these left-wing mayors and governors are hopeless. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
And all the time I've been endorsing Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month, now through December 14th. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for the rest of your life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network, but this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. You can see puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 14, 2025. Folks, don't miss this. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. This Black Lives Matter was probably one of the greatest frauds in modern American history. The amount of money that was stolen, that was used by so many of the so-called leaders of this movement, promoted by, am I allowed to say, Braun and others? The Western Journal, Black Lives Matter leader facing hundreds of years in prison after being charged with $3.15 million scheme. That's what it says here. She wouldn't be the first. BLM co-founder Patrice Colliers, sound familiar? Resigned in 2021 over accusations of misspending the group's donations on multi-million-dollar properties, including a mansion in Toronto, and as the New York Post reported, Colliers is now joined by another prominent name from BLM Oklahoma City, 52-year-old Tasheila Sherry Amore Dickerson. That's 4 names. 3 names, usually 4 names. The executive director of BLM OKC, that would be BLM Oklahoma, has been charged with wire fraud and money laundering, as reported by KWTV DT. The United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Oklahoma put out a news release on the charges. Beginning in late spring 2020, BLM OKC raised funds in support of its social justice mission from online donors, as well as from national bail funds. In total, BLM OKC raised more than $5.6 million, which included grants from national bail funds, including the Community Justice Exchange, Massachusetts Bail Fund, and Minnesota Freedom Fund. That damn Minnesota. These groups, these left-wing groups, I'm telling you. Most of the funds were routed through the Alliance for Global Justice as fiscal sponsor to BLM OKC. Oh, it sounds so important. According to the indictment, BLM OKC was supposed to use these national bail fund grants to post pretrial bail for individuals arrested in connection with protests for racial justice after the death of George Floyd. I'm quoting. Where'd the money actually go? Well, the press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office continues. Despite the stated purpose of the money raised and the terms and conditions of the grants, the indictment alleges that beginning in June 2020 and continuing through at least October 2025, Dickerson embezzled funds from BLM OKC's accounts for her personal benefit. The indictment alleges she deposited at least $3.15 million in returned bail checks into her personal accounts rather than into BLM OKC accounts. Having access to the BLM OKC bank account, Cash App, and PayPal account, she allegedly bought a new car, went on vacation in Jamaica in the Dominican Republic, spent tens of thousands of retail shopping, $50,000 on food and groceries. She's a big gal. And bought 6 properties. Just 6. I mean, Tucker only has 3. That's $3.15 million Dickerson received in donations from people who actually believed they were supporting her leftist cause of so-called racial justice. You would have thought, Mr. Producer, they would pretend to be building a wall on the southern border and shake down old ladies. Oh, wait, that's Bannon. These are, as of now, only allegations, but KWTV states, if found guilty, she faces up to 20 years in prison for each of the 20 counts of wire fraud and 10 years in prison for each of the 5 counts of money laundering. So this is what she's alleged to have done. So many good causes out there, you know, it's just unbelievable. We can't afford to cut spending in any respect. These causes are just so important. And if you raise a question at all, there's something wrong with you. Power Hour's next. I'll be right back.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. The Power Hour, the final hour of the week. Our number is 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I want to finish what we began over at the website AmericanGreatness.com. Tom Homan, HSI investigator, says there's no doubt Ilhan Omar committed immigration fraud. Ooh, do tell. Border czar Tom Homan confirmed Tuesday the Department of Homeland Security is investigating allegations that Ilhan Omar married her brother, presumably to help him obtain U.S. citizenship through the fraudulent marriage. We're pulling the records, we're pulling the files, we're looking at it, Homan said. The allegations were reported by Minnesota-based investigative journalist David Steinberg in PJ Media in 2018. As the story goes, about 35 years ago, 8-year-old Ilhan and her family fled war-torn Somalia to Kenya's Dadaab refugee camps, where she lived from 1981 until 1995. Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services then helped 12-year-old Ilhan, her sister Sarah, and their father Norsed receive asylum in the United States along with thousands of other Somalis. Now, just stop there for a minute. And she hates our country. It just is mind-boggling to me. Absolutely mind-boggling to me. Omar has been under scrutiny for action she took beginning in 2009 when she was 26 years old, a U.S. citizen. That, quote, appeared to give probable cause to investigate Omar for 8 instances of perjury, immigration fraud, marriage fraud, up to 8 years of state and federal tax fraud, 2 years of federal student loan fraud, and even bigamy, according to Powerline's Scott Johnson. Now, Scott Johnson is an attorney. I don't know him personally, but I know him by reputation. He's a solid individual. He doesn't just throw around allegations. Homan said a top fraud investigator with Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, told him there's no doubt immigration fraud was committed in Omar's case, but the statute of limitations became an issue in the last 4 years. During a cabinet meeting at the White House on December 2nd, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said 50% of Somali visas in Minnesota are fraudulent. 50%, which means Governor Tim Walz is either an idiot or he did it on purpose, she said. 50%. Over 80% of the Somalis in Minneapolis are on welfare, on one form or another. Holman said that they're investigating immigration fraud in Minnesota, focusing on criminals and national security threats who weren't properly vetted. We're going to look at all of them, he said. Those here illegally are here under a visa under some sort of immigration process. The Borders Czar said President Trump has requested a deep dive into the problematic Somali immigration situation in Minnesota. We're going to hold people accountable, he said. There are going to be multiple deportations coming. And the president mentioned Omar while talking to reporters at the White House last week about the massive fraud being uncovered in Minnesota's Somali community. They have a representative, he said, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud. In an interview with Politico, the president again invoked Omar's name when asked about the type of immigrants he wants coming to America. I want to see people that contribute. I don't want to see Somalia. I don't want to see a woman that, marries her brother to get in and then becomes a congressman, does nothing but complain. All she does is complain, complain, complain. And yet her country's a mess. Is there something wrong with what the president said there? Is it not absolutely accurate? It is. And our immigration standards require people who come into the country who are self-sufficient, who will not go on welfare, who can support the country. Yeah. Is that so horrible? I read this story yesterday, and it's been bothering me ever since. What's been done to these Israeli hostages by the Palestinians is really so monstrous and unconscionable as to be unbelievable. Some of them were repeatedly raped, tortured, held as indentured servants, slaves, obviously starved, beaten, broken bones, forced to humiliate themselves. These stories are starting to come out, and they are unbelievable. These are hostages, unarmed, in cold blood. What happened to little children, little babies? Legal Insurrection is a fantastic site. It's a great site. Professor William Jacobson is a terrific patriot, terrific lawyer, and he started this site, Legal Insurrection. And he's created the Legal Insurrection Foundation. Kudos to him. But this is the story. Noa Marciano, a 19-year-old Israeli hostage. Beautiful young lady. Noa, who Palestinian terrorists abducted from a kibbutz on October 7th, was taken to Gaza City's Shifa hospital after sustaining minor, non-life-threatening injuries. Weeks after her abduction, and with Israeli troops advancing in the area, a Palestinian doctor at the hospital injected into her vein air. Injected air into her vein, Noah's father said. She was murdered by the doctor inside the Shifa hospital. For the first time, the father of the 19-year-old, Noa Marciano, is speaking publicly about how she died in Gaza. He says a medical professional at the hospital injected air into her. Noah's murder by Shifa's medical staff was recorded on camera, showing a doctor injecting air into her veins while she pleaded, begged for mercy. Her father learned of his daughter's death in Hamas captivity through a video of her last moments shared with him on Telegram, the Jerusalem Post reported Thursday. The footage of a medical professional lethally injecting air into her veins after she was taken to Shifa Hospital in Gaza. Noa was a resident of central Israeli city of Modin. She was in the IDF. Days after her murder, the Israeli military managed to recover her body in a raid on the Hamas-controlled hospital. Her father's revelations are consistent with the Israeli military's assessment made last summer. In early July 2024, the Israeli Defense Forces said in a statement that the Shifa hospital was used by Hamas to murder her. Her father still wakes up at night from nightmares from the video. How did he see the video, Mr. Producer? They were sent the video of her daughter being executed. The Palestinians sent the father the video to show him how they murdered his daughter. She was abducted from the shelter at the kibbutz. Appeared in a video posted on Instagram by pro-Israel activist Shai DeLuca, where he revealed for the first time how his daughter was murdered in Hamas captivity. In a recording sent to him, Noa described the airstrikes in the area and pleaded for her distress to be conveyed. "They're bombing us," she said in the video. She made a desperate request for help. "Stop the bombings because you might hit us." Later, as IDF forces approached the area, Hamas terrorists attempted to move Noa into central Gaza City. On the way, the car she was in was struck. Noa sustained injuries to her leg and head. Though they were not life-threatening, she was evacuated to Shifa Hospital in Gaza. And her father recounted that one of the medical staff at the hospital, the doctor, decided to murder her. He injected air into her vein. Marciano received confirmation of Noah's death through another video sent to him, in which his daughter is seen begging for her life. At the end of the footage, she appears to be sweating, but she's lifeless. 19 years old. She was held hostage, and then they executed her. And so there you have it. There are reports out tonight that the United States is pressuring Israel to pay for reparations, not reparations, for reconstruction of Gaza, Mr. Producer. Did you see that? That we are pressuring Israel to reconstruct and fund reconstruction in Gaza? the reports that have been bleeding out all week that we are pressuring Israel to accept Turkey and Qatari troops in Gaza, which means these Islamist regimes that paid for Hamas, effectively October 7th, and that keep calling for the destruction of the state of Israel, would be right on the border with Israel, where they are not right now. Are we losing the peace, America? We, the American people. Gaza City, the last holdout of Hamas, was surrounded by the Israelis when the 20-point plan came out for the ceasefire. Hamas has not been disarmed. Hamas has not surrendered. Hamas has not been relocated anywhere. In fact, they've executed any opposition right in the streets, summarily. Weapons are being sent in there by, among others, the Turks. We're going to keep an eye on this. The Muslim Brotherhood, which is the mothership of all these terrorist entities, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, they were to be designated as a terrorist organization, which triggers a whole lot of activities, financial and otherwise. But now they're focusing on individual countries. Two of the countries that are not covered are Qatar and Turkey. What's that all about? And there's now a controversy brewing that on the House side, there was a committee vote on a proposed bill by the Republicans to hold the Muslim Brotherhood, the entire international complex of other brotherhood entities in these various countries, including ours, by the way, that are here, as a terrorist organization, designated terrorist organization, for reasons I don't understand. It was apparently watered down in the Republican-controlled committee. The teeth were taken out of the bill. They say by the pressure of the administration. And Senator Ted Cruz, who introduced the bill in the Senate with the teeth in it, is very upset about this tonight, as are a growing number of people who are learning about this. And you literally have Democrats who are moving to the right of the Republicans on this issue, calling for holding the Muslim Brotherhood, all of it, as a designated terrorist organization. We deserve an explanation for this. We really do. Whether it's Republicans on Capitol Hill in the House, whether it's the administration, we deserve an explanation for this. We need to understand what is going on and why it's going on. We need to understand why Israel is expected to, at least at the beginning, to some extent, rebuild Gaza. We need to understand why Qatar and Turkey should be part of the international security force. Because I don't understand any of it. And by the way, that military base built in Qatar, that was put there when we attacked Iraq for American troops for that specific purpose. It's grown into much more. And it costs us hundreds of millions of dollars a year to run that base. Just so you know. Just so you know. That's not a gift from the Qataris. That's a gift from us. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Over at Red State, another great site, Terry Christoph In a Friday morning appearance on Fox and Friends, Tulsi Gabbard said the Biden administration had let more than 2,000 Afghan nationals with terrorism ties into the United States in the wake of the 2021 botched Afghanistan withdrawal. More than 2,000. And that startling number was revealed just weeks after two members of the West Virginia National Guard, of course, were ambushed, one murdered right on the spot, the other, who, thank God, is recovering, by an Afghan man who was brought to the U.S. as part of Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program. According to the DNI, many of those Afghans now residing in our country, many right here in Virginia, are not our allies, even if they did once work alongside our troops. She revealed that 100,000 poorly vetted Afghans came to the U.S. after the withdrawal, and of that number, there are at least 2,000 who are known or suspected terrorists. Have you heard a single Democrat raise concern about this? If so, what's their name? What's their name? And that's just the ones that we know about. Gabbard pointed out millions of unvetted foreign nationals streamed over the southern border during the Biden regime. She said, we're looking at untold numbers of Islamists and persons with terrorist ties of all kinds lurking in our communities. You believe that? I believe it, and it's unbelievable that they did this to us, to our country. I bet there's sleeper cells all over the damn place. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin, radio's principal patriot. Call in now at 877-381-3811.
Don't forget, folks, set your DVR, 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night and Sunday night. Life, Liberty, and Levin, two great shows, brand new. And I know you're going to love them. Doing things a little differently. You'll see that, too. I like to stir things a little bit, try things a little bit, improve things. Let's go to James in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on the Mark Levin app. James, how are you? Okay. Anyone else going that I should know of? Let's go to Ken, Waterbury, Connecticut, XM Satellite. Ken, how are you, sir?
Mark, it's such a blessing to speak to you, sir. God bless you. If you please give me 1 minute, I have two things to say, but it's going to ball up in one. Number one, I'm so shocked that all of the media and all of American taxpayers are not so angry about what's going on in Minnesota with the tax dollars being funneled to Somalia. It blows my mind. The only people that are covering it are you and other Fox broadcasters, but they're just like brushing it off. It's like if this was any other type of other group, let's say it was a bunch of Irish people, they would be going nuts over it. Why do we protect certain classes with kid gloves because they're so scared?
It's the ruling class elites that do this. This is how they buy support. This is how they buy votes. This is how they change society to empower themselves. This is how they seek one-party rule under the Democrat Party. That's what's going on.
Yes, sir, I completely agree, and I knew you would say that, and I knew the answer already, but I just wanted to express myself. But rolling on to number two is I'm going to be a cop for 27 years coming this August, and
God bless
I'm killing myself still with overtime. Thank you, sir. I'm killing myself with overtime still because I have two daughters in college that we need to pay for, but they are actually doing great things. My oldest daughter is going for nuclear med, and my youngest daughter is doing psychology, criminology. She wants to be an FBI agent, studying serial killers and stuff like that. So they're doing good things. But and my wife, God bless her, I love her so much. She does radiology at a hospital. Right now, she's working a double. I just did a single today. And I'm actually in my driveway listening to you on Patriot Radio in my truck.
Thank you. But, well, let me ask you a question. Are you having to work overtime and she's having to do two jobs essentially because there aren't enough people doing these jobs?
Yes. Well, I work in I can't say this.
Don't identify yourself. They'll fire you. Don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. A very big city in my state, and we are short-staffed, like a lot of other big, huge municipalities, because of a lot of hatred towards us, whatnot. It's been getting a little bit better, but all of a sudden I'm feeling another whack at us. But it's just we have to do it because, and what kills me and what upsets me about the whole tax thing, Mark, is that for the last going on over 4 years now, we have 2 kids in college, like I said, and one of them was still in high school. We've been having to pay over $15,000 in taxes with federal and state.
Yeah.
And on top of, even though we claim the colleges and everything else like that, they're killing us. So and plus they're killing us obviously in our paychecks with the overtime. So I'm paying triple the amount. And when I hear and see my tax dollars getting blown away, especially in my state, my garbage liberal state with, oh my God, Murphy and Blumenthal, oh my God, I'll have to get them in a room. But anyways, they just blow my money away, and then
they don't care. They don't care. But I care, and I'm going to have to run. I really appreciate your call and your service, and your whole family sounds fantastic. It really does. God bless you, my friend, and thank you for your service. Let's squeeze in Joe, Grapevine, Texas, WBAP, our great affiliate. Go right ahead. Is Joe there?
Mark, I have listened to you before. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Mark?
Yeah.
Mark, I first want to say I've listened before you had your own radio station when you filled in for Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and I don't know how many times, Mark, I screamed at the radio, why doesn't this man have his own radio show? Well, the rest is history, Mark. It is an absolute honor and privilege to have the opportunity to talk to you. Mark, I have to agree with you, and I'm glad that you called out Miss Greene, Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think that's appropriate, Mark. The woman that claims that she was against all of what, as we found out, with what those found out, the illegality, all the fraud, the abuse, the open borders, of just the monitoring of our senators, the Arctic frost. I mean, Mark, you can go down the list of all the things that we have discovered in the last year. And this woman wants to stand and rub elbows and basically lick the boot of the other side.
She sounds to me like absolutely unhinged, like a complete nut job. And she's been that way really for a long time, and people have excused it. But there's a little handful of them, a cabal of them. And they all stick together, and they interview each other, and they cheerlead each other. It's like really stupid. Like the dumbest people in a fraternity and a sorority. And I never belonged to a fraternity, but you get my drift.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just disgusting.
23. And something Dan Bongino said, and I have to agree with him, when he had his program, when she called for the Speaker of the House to step down, well, something Dan Bongino says, okay, Ms. Greene, if you want to do that, who are you going to put in there?
Exactly.
You've got no idea who you're going to put in there.
And by the way, Dan Bongino, we welcome you back with open arms. The sooner the better as far as I'm concerned. He fights for the right side. He fights for what's good. And you know I'm a big Bongino fan. All right, my brother, thank you for your call. Let's move on. Let us go to Mike in Ashland, Virginia, the great WMAL. I think it's Ashburn, but that's okay. How are you?
It is Ashland, and thank you, Mark, for taking my. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking my call, and I have to tell you, you have been my primary source of accurate information since Rush has passed. God bless him, and God bless you. But I wanted to get to, when I watch Fox News and they're shoving affordability down our throat, and I'm afraid this may be a Democrats' heads I win, tails you lose, talking point. Because
all right, let me address this before they cut me off on the hard break. You raise a good point. I will say Fox News hosts bring it up, I think, because that's what's being brought up, and many of them are just trying to confront it and deal with it. I have said myself that if you remember, and I think you and I are old enough to remember, when George Bush 41 was running for re-election against Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton spent a fortune talking about the recession we're in, and we weren't in a recession. And Bush 41 was always tongue-tied. He was very inarticulate. He was a very good man, but very inarticulate. His campaign was incompetent, led by you-know-who. I think they call him the architect, but it doesn't really matter. And the fact of the matter is that issue won the day. That issue won the day for them. And I think your point is very well taken. On the one hand, the president and the Republicans and their midterm campaign managers, they need to focus on what has been accomplished in terms of affordability. But number two, you can't play defense to these people when they're throwing around their slogans, which is your point, which is 100% correct. And I agree completely that this issue of affordability, quote unquote, they're going to allow it to take over. They won't be able to win the day because the Democrats are in front of that issue. And when it comes to affordability, it's the Democrats who made things so unaffordable and unavailable to the vast majority of the American people. And I think the president is right. He's getting out on the road. He's doing other things to challenge this. But for some reason, and I don't get it completely, our guys are so tongue-tied. That's an excellent call. Thank you, my friend. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Every single Friday that I've been on the air, we go to America at the end of our week in honor of you, the greatest people on the face of the earth. Here we go. and gentlemen, the week is officially over and the weekend begins now. I'm blessed to have you out there. I want to thank you. You and me, we will stand together. All the time, always. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel, and especially you, the American people. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi and Smokey. Good night, Zelda and Gigi and Indy and Patton and Rory. Good night, Marty. Good night, little Barney. We haven't forgotten any of you. Good night, Dad and Mom. We're holding down the fort. I know we're doing what you'd want us to do. And Leo and Joe and Bernard and Teddy and Lou. So many great, great patriots. And I want to thank you. Have a beautiful, wonderful weekend. I hope you'll tune in on Fox at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Life, Liberty, and Levin tomorrow night and Sunday night. And I hope you'll set your DVRs as well. God bless each and every one of you. Be safe and be happy. See you tomorrow night.